Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be on you all. Today, in this lab, I'm going to configure Cluster Excel. So I'm gonna show you along how you can configure Cluster Excel. I have in this topology two ASAs. That is, I'm going to configure in cluster. I have one external switch, one internal switch, and internal. This is my inside network, which is 10.10.10/24, and then external is my outside network is 192.168.10/24. I have a router, edge router. With this router, I'm going outside to the internet, and then I have a management switch. With this switch, I'm managing these two ASAs, and at the moment I don't have anything configured on the ASAs, so I'm gonna show you along how you can configure a cluster Excel. Okay, let's start our configuration. We have ASA A and ASA B. ASA A, we're going to make primary ASA within our cluster, and at the moment there's no configuration on the ASA. IP brief. Similarly, show interface brief. So there's no ASA. So the very first step is we need to make sure that all the interface is in cluster mode, span mode. Cluster interface mode is span first on both ASAs. Interface cluster interface mode span force. Okay, second thing is we need to configure the management IP for this ASA. Before I can configure the management IP, I need to make a pool for management IP addresses, because once we configure the cluster, all the joining ASAs that are going to join the cluster group will be assigned one management IP address from that cluster group, that pool IP local pool 10.104.5.2-10.104.6. So I'm going to assign, let's say, just 4 IPs. At the moment I have only 2 ASAs, so only in this cluster the maximum 4 ASAs will be joining, because there are only 4 IP addresses. Okay, so that's my management IP, VLAN 100 10.104.5.24. Okay, I've configured the pool. Let's configure the management interface. Because I don't have the dedicated interface for my management, so I can use any interface. Let's say I use Ethernet 0 interface to 0, and the description ASA, and the name if management, security level is 100, and IP address is 10.104.5.1.255.0, and we need to assign the cluster pool with this management IP address. Cluster pool gt dash pool. Okay. Okay, sorry, that's gt. Okay, so show run interface Ethernet 0. So management only. Okay, this is shut down at the moment. Name if management security 100 and IP address is I've assigned .1, and if we look at show the pool that I have configured, show and run including pool, you can see the pool I have configured is range is between 2 and 6, and I have assigned .1 to the management IP address for the primary ASA, the master ASA. So what's going to happen? This .1 is going to become the cluster IP. So this IP will be assigned to whenever whoever is the master ASA. Let's say if this ASA is master ASA, is the .1 will be assigned to this, and .2 and .3 will be assigned to individual IP addresses to these ASAs. So .1 will be the cluster IP, or you can say the virtual IP. So show interface IP brief. So let's bring up our cluster control link. So this is our cluster control link, Ethernet 1, Ethernet interface Ethernet 1, description, link to ASAB, and no, all we need to do is just no shut and come out, exit, show interface a brief to see that if that is up. Okay, remember this is still down, the management interface, we need to bring this up. 0, no shut. Okay, that's good. Now we need to configure the cluster. So cluster group, cluster group, my cluster. So that's question mark. So these are the parameters that we need to configure, or the commands. So first command that we need to configure is local unit. Local unit is ASA, this ASA, and priority is going to be 10. So lower the priority, higher the preference. And next thing is key. Let's say admin 3, and then finally cluster interface Ethernet 1, which is Ethernet 1 between these two ASAs. And the subnet that we're going to assign is, this is the subnet network.11/29. So Ethernet 1 IP 1.1.1.255.248. Okay, and I hope that's it. Show run cluster key local unit cluster. What else we can do? We can do console replication. Okay, now let's go to the secondary ASA. Show interface IP brief. The moment all we need to do is just no shut the Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. The rest of the configuration will be copied from all the interface configuration will be copied from the primary ASA, the master ASA, and all we need to do is configure the cluster group on this secondary ASA. So interface Ethernet 0, no shut, Ethernet 1, no shut, enter on a cluster group. We need to make sure that the cluster group name is same that we have configured on primary one. Okay, let's say customer, then priority local unit. Local unit is ASA B, and priority is going to be 50. Then cluster interface Ethernet 1 IP is 1.1.1.2 255.248. Okay, and show run cluster. Is there anything left? Let's compare. Okay, key, yes, key is missing. Admin 123, show run cluster. Okay, let's compare. Once again, key, this is key, ASA, ASB, cluster interface, .1, .2, 248, 248. Priority is 10, priority is 50, health check is default. That's default setting. Okay, let's once again check the interfaces. Okay. Okay, let's ping the to check the connectivity between the cluster control link. Yes, we can ping, and at the moment you can see that on management interface for the master ASA, we have configured the management interface, but we have not configured any interface on the secondary firewall. So this, once the cluster is up, the ASA will start the election, and this ASA will become on call. And once it becomes in a cluster, so primary ASA will assign the management IP address to secondary itself. Uh, One thing we need to make sure is to check the configuration on the switch, management switch. So this is my management switch. So need to make sure that switch is configured properly. Enable show okay. Show interface IP brief. So what I have done is just created one VLAN. Show VLAN. You can see that this is the management VLAN I have created, and Ethernet 0/0 and 0/1. These two interfaces are assigned to VLAN 100, and I have configured SVI interface, show run interface VLAN 100. This is the same managing IP address, so the 254 is going to be the default gateway for the ASA to send all the traffic to the switch, and then further we'll connect Windows with this network, management network, to access to install the ASDM. So I will show you that later. So at the moment, let's test the ping 10.104.5.1. Okay, so it's not pinging because let's show interface IP brief ping 10.104.5.254. Yes, it can ping because this is ASA. Is not letting the switch to ping. It's blocking the ping, but we can check that 254. We can reach 254 and we can ping .1. Yeah, that's correct. So the both ASAs can reach it on management IP address through this switch, and there is connectivity in the cluster. So let's configure the cluster, bring the cluster on, config T, cluster group, and my cluster. Oh, only one cluster can be created, nothing. That's why we need to make sure that we use the correct, yeah, this one. Okay, and enable enable no confirm. Okay, let's see, show interface IP brief. So the interface went down, so cluster is working in progress. So it will bring up, once the cluster is up, it will bring up this interface and assign all the IPs to all the cluster members accordingly within from the pool. Show cluster info. You can see that this is in election state, and let's bring up this enable yes as slave, because this is slave. So it will take few minutes. Let's see, at the moment there is no IP address, so once the cluster is up, it will assign itself the IP address to management IP address and show. Yeah, it's still down, and you will see that this IP will be changed. So .1 will become the cluster IP, and .2 and .3 will be assigned to these management interfaces to both ASAs respectively. Okay, it's still. It will take few minutes. Meanwhile, we can check show cluster info. You can say this ASAB is on call and ASA-A is in election state. It takes few minutes. You need to probably wait. You can see now it's coming up. The cluster unit ASA is transitioned from disabled to master, and it's still, yes, it has discovered the secondary unit slave, and it's starting copying the configuration to the slave unit. And now here you can see that end configuration replication from the master. So they both are in cluster. The very first thing you'll see, they both have the same name, ASA, ASA. So let's see the interface. Management interfaces show IP interface IP brief. Here you go. There it is. As I said, 2 is now assigned a management IP address to ASA master, and show interface IP brief, and 3 is assigned to slave. And where is 1? So 1 is the cluster IP, as I said. So let's say ping 1, sorry, ping 10.104.5.1. So this is our cluster IP. We can go to switch and see if we can ping 10.104.5.1. Yes, we can ping. Let's say 2, yeah, and 3. Yes, so we have now connectivity, and our cluster is up. Show cluster. You can see this is ASA, and this is in master state. ASAB is slave state. Check to the ASAB, show cluster info. There you go. This is ASAB in slave state, in master state. So now our cluster is ready. Now it's time to do the configuration for inside and outside. And let's start that configuration now.